Did you know Argylle, the name of the pattern, is spelled with only one L? So I wonder why that the movie is spelled with two. Hello hooligans, welcome to another one of my movie reviews. Today we are talking about Argylle, directed by Matthew Vaughn, who is known for the Kingsman movies. It stars Bryce Dallas Howard, Henry Cavill, and Sam Rockwell, to name a few. And here's the synopsis of the movie. Reclusive author Elly Conway writes best-selling espionage novels about a secret agent named Argylle, who is on a mission to unravel a global spy syndicate. However, when the plot of her books start to mirror the covert actions of a real-life spy organization, the line between fiction and reality begin to blur. So the movie is an action comedy with many twists and turns and a mystery about who the true identity of Agent Argylle is, and how is Ellie tied with all of this. And before we get into the review, make sure you like and subscribe, as that helps out a lot with the algorithm. And don't worry, I won't be covering any spoilers in this video. And with that said, let's get into it. So let's just address the elephant in the room here, okay? So the critic reviews are in, and it's not looking good. At the time of recording this, it currently sits at a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, that is like really bad. And I'm really surprised because I do not think this movie deserves that low of a score. I mean, by no means is this movie an Oscar winner, obviously. And in fact, I think all of the Kingsman movies were actually better. However, I did have a lot of fun with this movie. It was very campy, and I think it's completely serviceable, and I was very entertained throughout the whole time. And I get a feeling this is going to be a very popular movie once it comes out on streaming amongst family and friends, because it's just a really good time to watch together. So I'll give you my rating at the end of this video, but I just don't think it deserves the hate that it's been getting. Now, I'll just start off by addressing some of the problems I had with this movie, which I'm sure is also where a lot of the negative reviews are coming from. First of all, this movie was way too long. I think at least 30 minutes could have been cut out. Some scenes could have been shorter, and some scenes could have just been taken out completely. The beginning half was actually pretty decent and well paced, but then the second half was just starting to drag. I think because of the runtime, it was actually hurting the tone of the movie. Because at the beginning, it sets up this movie as fast paced with funny action scenes at every corner. But in reality, there were some scenes where I was just sitting there waiting for the action to happen because I was getting so bored. Second of all, the VFX was terrible. I've genuinely seen better VFX from YouTubers and TikTokers. Where did all of that money go? Into Henry Cavill's haircut? Now, it's more than likely it's not the artist's fault, they probably just didn't have enough time. But at the end of the day, it just did not look good. Like at some parts where they use the green screen, it literally looks like how I cut myself out for my thumbnails. You know, at least the movie wasn't trying to be serious, otherwise the VFX would have been even more distracting. Next, I really did not like the very end and the post-credit scene. It seemed like they were trying to set something up for the future or trying to connect it with the Kingsman universe, and I'm just not here for that mess. Miss me with that bullshit. Like, just let movies exist on their own, and this goes out for other movies as well. Stop trying to set up sequels at the end. It's really annoying, and if the audience wants a sequel, you will know. You want to know how? Well, first of all, you got to make sure this movie isn't a complete box office flop. Second, if the audience wants a sequel, they'll tell you on Twitter, and then in that case, you get free fan-driven marketing. Also, please stop trying to set up cinematic universes. Not everything has to be Marvel. And my last problem with this movie is the false advertising. Henry Cavill and Dua Lipa, especially Henry Cavill, are used significantly for the marketing, yet they appear only for maybe 10% of the movie. I mean, they are literally put front and center on the posters. I understand using someone like Henry Cavill will draw more people to the box office, but then you gotta deliver on that promise. Let this man do more in the movie. Or if you don't have the budget to pay him, maybe you don't need 10 cameos from big name actors. Okay, now that I'm done making it sound like I actually hate this movie and that the critics were right about the rating, let's move on to the things I actually liked. So I might lose some of you on this, but I actually love the fact it was so unserious. It was absurd, egregious, campy, and any other synonyms you can think of. And I think that's a good thing. I think too many movies these days tries to take itself too seriously, and a lot of times it's to its own detriment. I miss movies that are just plain old stupid and don't make sense just for the sake of it. Think of like Austin Powers, even though I'm not saying this movie is at the same level of Austin Powers, but just in a similar sense. Actually, if I'm being honest, this movie compared to Austin Powers is not even dumb enough. It could have gone even stupider. And interestingly enough, movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once is pretty absurd and stupid, right? But there's layers to it, and there's levels, and there's messaging, and I think that's why it lands better with critics. And I love Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? But sometimes I just want to watch something that is pure degenerate and fun, so I don't need to think that much about it. And just from the first 5 minutes of this movie, you can tell that it's not trying to be realistic, but at the same time, they are quite self-aware about it. As long as you don't nitpick and think about all the loopholes in this movie, I think you'll enjoy it too. Also, this movie had a lot of twists. It had so many twists it started looking like Twizzler the movie, okay? But it got to the point where I just laughed every time there was a new twist because it was just so ridiculous that they kept on adding more and more. Some of the twists were actually very predictable, while some were not. There were a few scenes where I was like, how are they gonna get themselves out of the situation? Imagine if they did this, and then they actually did. Okay, let's talk about the actors next. So it's a stacked cast here, so I'll just shout out the actors that did a good job but didn't have a lot to do. So obviously Henry Cavill did a good job. He was channeling his comedic side in this movie, and he just looked so awkward with that terrible haircut, and it was definitely something different compared to his other serious action roles. Dua Lipa was there and looked stunning, but that's about it. And then same thing goes for John Cena and Ariana DeBose. Samuel L. Jackson is truly in his unserious era, and I love that for him. Bryan Cranston and Catherine O'Hara actually had a slightly larger role in this movie. I think they did a really good job portraying their characters because it's not what you would expect. And now for our two main actors, Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell. Not who I would think of when I think of an action spy movie, but I actually think that's exactly why it worked and added to the absurdity of the movie. And it shows a different take from this genre. Plus, they also had great on-screen chemistry, so that never hurts. And finally, there was a cat in the movie, and I love the cat. It was very cute. So my overall rating is a 6 out of 10. So not great, but it wasn't that bad. I was definitely very entertained, and I really don't think it deserves such a low score on Rotten Tomatoes right now. But yeah, that's it from me. But what did you guys think of this movie? Did you guys see it yet, or are you waiting for it to come out on digital? Regardless, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!